Hey everyone, I have decided to crash on what I am officially calling Ian, the Ian
Ian Cat.
cast.
Yep.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
And hopefully you're okay with me crashing the party from time to time.
Oh, it's cool. Yeah. No, you're the life of the party. It's
Because
all
like
good.
there is so much going on, and I don't know if you saw, but this is both a plug for our YouTube channel, which you should subscribe to, and also a plug for the Bull Profits that I did on Tuesday, where I covered in summary a lot of what really I feel like you and I, Ian, we can cover like in more detail today, which
Yeah.
is Tesla, Bitcoin, and pot. And let's get with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Because as
Yeah.
we speak right now, it's once again doing something that we notice it's been doing for some time now since these futures started to come, have started trading.
Right. Yeah. It's down. It was down to like 7,500 today. It's probably 5 or 6% or so. But it's today was one of the futures expiration dates. So there's this company called Bakkt that has Bitcoin futures now, which is kind of revolutionary because this is the first time that investors in Bitcoin futures have actually been able to get the Bitcoin payout at the end. So when they buy the futures, there's actually physical delivery of Bitcoin, and the investors get all of that. So there's immediate supply, a huge amount of liquidity in Bitcoin when these expiration date come, and it can really move the markets quite a bit, like we're seeing today. And the
That's right.
last time there was an expiration date was at the end of October when we saw Bitcoin up like 42% in a day or something like that. So they do move the market for sure.
That's right, and that's exactly what happens in the stock market too, which is when there's a volume trade, if there's a large buy, the moment the market gets wind of it, it moves the price up as they're like, oh, there's a huge buyer. And in reverse, when there's a large block trade, like any wholesale business, the price moves down. And so you're seeing a sort of bid and ask develop around the blocks.
Right.
On a big buy, it's up 25, 30%. On a big sell, it's down to about 7,500. So the range seems to be about 10,000 to 7,500. Would you say
Yeah,
that, Ian? Yeah.
I would. Yeah, because
Yeah.
people were Bitcoin futures through Bakkt where people were buying thousands of them every day. So it's been super popular in the past month.
Right.
And so as they buy, there's more liquidity, more Bitcoin are going to be physically delivered at the end of November. So that means more supply and less demand just for this brief period of time. So
Right.
the
And
price
just
goes
so
down.
and just so people know, the role of futures is for hedging. So if you're a Bitcoin miner and you don't want to take the price risk, then you would go long these futures so that you are guaranteed a certain price.
Right.
And at the same time, if you're a speculator or if you're a dealer in Bitcoin and you want to hedge your position one way or the other, you would use these futures. And it's in some ways sort of the maturity of the Bitcoin market coming into play.
Right. Exactly.
And that leads us to really what I want to spend some time on, Ian, which is
Yeah.
something that I'm calling the halvening. And I know
Yeah.
it's called a halving, but I think halvening is cooler. It
For
sounds a
sure.
little bit more mysterious. And I think we should go with the halvening,
Yeah.
making it
Yeah.
like our bold profits way of talking about what is going on, the halvening. And so
Yep.
you want to run the numbers here. I'll just lay out the scenario and you run the numbers, which is, in other words, every 4 years, right?
Yes.
Every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin that can be mined gets to a point where it's half of what it was from the previous 4 years. Am I defining it right, Ian?
Yep.
That's
Yep.
right. Okay. So run the numbers for folks on like how dramatic this is going to be come 2020. And I believe the exact date is sometime in May 2020.
Yeah. So May, there right now there's about 18 million Bitcoin out there. So there's only 18 million. There's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoin. So there's only 3 more million that are ever going to come into existence. And in May, the amount that currently coming to existence is going to be cut in half. So it's a big cut in supply. And when you figure that out according to the Bitcoin price and you run the math and everything, that equates to $63 million every day that will not be coming into the market starting then that is now. So it's going to take, $63 million every day. That's like $1 billion every couple of weeks. So that is what we're seeing now in Bitcoin. The supply is coming in at a big level. in May is going to be cut in half, and that's going to take billions out every month that we would have now. So the supply is going way down. Obviously, demand is going up, as we're seeing in the futures market. So it's really kind of like a big moment for Bitcoin, and the amount of scarcity in Bitcoin is going to be unbelievable, and we believe it's going to cause a huge price run. And the past couple times, 2013 and 2017, those rallies came after the halving, so it does cause something in the market.
I mean, just to make it was 2012 and 2016 were the previous halvenings, and
Right.
the exact number were in 2016 the supply got reduced by 8 million. But remember, Bitcoin was I don't know what the market cap was, but let's just say it was a lot smaller.
Yeah.
And in 2012, when Bitcoin was probably where I mean the market cap was probably nothing.
Yeah.
The happening was like about $300,000. However, go back and track it on the chart, and you'll see that this scarcification, as I would call it, really does cause at some point when the demand comes in, it causes that huge mooning effect that we saw in 2017.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and that's what I believe is going to happen. And generally speaking, we have looked at this. It tends to run ahead of the actual date.
Yeah, it does, because people buy in anticipation of that, like maybe a few months before it peaks, and then the halvening comes and people sell, and it goes down maybe 20-30%, and then people freak out because maybe it was already priced in. And then the pattern that we've seen before, the past, like every time halving has happened, is after that first sell-off, when the halving happens, like a few months later, it just takes off like a rocket for like a year and a half.
Right. It's like a kind of a three-part move. There's the buy on the rumor kind of trade. Then there's the sell-off post the actual event. And then there comes an enormous price surge after, which reflects the new sort of supply level.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, I mean,
So
yeah, I mean, I think this is going to be an incredible 2020 for Bitcoin.
yeah, for sure. And then 2021 to follow. The years where Bitcoin has really been huge has been the year after the halving. So late 2020 through pretty much all of 2021, we're seeing Bitcoin be way higher. My prediction is that it'll hit 100,000 in 2021, and that might actually be a little conservative, just based on the scarcity level and the demand that's going to be hitting Bitcoin when there's really no new supply at all.
Yeah, and I went out on a limb yesterday, and in my Bull Profits said that I believe Bitcoin could be at $50,000 by the end of 2020.
Yeah, right.
So, and that would reflect the fact in which I laid out, which is that the demand for Bitcoin is rising. You look at what is going on in Hong Kong, you look at what is going on in Iran, in Argentina. The demand for the old paper currencies, fiat currencies, is in decline.
Yeah,
And if when Brexit happens, certainly there's going to be less demand for euros and
yeah.
probably less demand for pounds. So the developed world as well is going to be searching for an alternative. So there's a number of catalysts really to cause Bitcoin's demand to rise just as the supply is about to dramatically shrink.
Yep. And there's also the fact, of course, that millions of Bitcoin have been lost. I've seen estimates about that for like at least 5 million Bitcoin or were sent to some wrong address or just gone in
Well, I
wallets that
mean,
nobody has access to.
how many Bitcoin, I mean, like, fractional Bitcoin have you been forced to abandon,
Yeah,
as a result of moving exchanges? I know I've had to abandon, like, actually, and that's just gone forever.
the fees. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So one last thing to mention about Bitcoin as well is that right now, for the most part, most people really are seeing it as a sort of outside market. In other words, it's still seen, including many of our colleagues at Banyan Hill. We're outliers. Generally, in being believers in Bitcoin, the vast majority of folks think that this thing's going to go to zero.
yeah. Right.
And from our perspective, when we look at the overall financial markets and we place Bitcoin in there, if you've got negative interest rates, fiat currencies in decline, interest rates generally low, people having been panicked into buying a lot of cash, which whose value is suspect, they're going to push back into what they consider riskier assets. And we know stocks, but we think also crypto in general. And I really
Yeah.
believe that some of that, they're going to come for crypto.
For sure. And one of the things about crypto, people say that the hedge against currency is gold. Well, crypto is way easier to buy all over the world than gold. There's regulation on gold. They make it, it's government controlled basically. Bitcoin, you can buy anywhere in the world, and you don't even need an internet connection to do it. It's completely separate. And it's just people have way easier access to it. Plus, you can spend it. So nobody actually has physical bars of gold they walk around with. And the point is, gold is an $8 trillion market. That's the amount of gold. Actually, it's probably higher now because that was as of like 6 months ago. So it's probably 9 or 10 now. And Bitcoin, if that was a $10 trillion market, each Bitcoin would be like $700,000. So, there's so much room to grow compared to what people are calling the alternative, the main alternative to cash, which is gold. Bitcoin is definitely going to be taking that market over.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I believe, you and I are in complete agreement on this. All right, let's go to another controversial area, Ian. Let's do
Yeah.
pot, cannabis.
Okay.
I put a pot stock into Profits Unlimited, and I got a gush of email because, of course, I put it in expecting pot stocks to kind of rally off one. I don't want to give the stock away. But off the leader of like the cannabis market, I thought that the earnings would drive a rebound, and instead it sold off. And then yesterday we had traumatic news in a way that kind of like people who have followed closely, like you and me, we were unsurprised by it.
Yeah.
However, the House Judiciary Committee voted, I believe, 21-12. I remember that's the vote, to essentially put forward legislation that would go in front of the U.S. House of Representatives to make pot cannabis legal around the United States. So
Yeah.
on that, pot stocks started to move up and have continued to keep moving up. And it's been a massive, massive move already.
Yeah. Yeah. It's that stock that you put into Profits Unlimited is up 50% off the low already that it made just a few days ago.
Right. I
So
mean, I
yeah.
don't know if you're tracking what, MJ, the ticker MJ has
Yeah.
done. It's probably up about 15-20%, right? From the
Yeah.
bottom.
Yep. And that tracks a bunch of pot stocks around the industry. It's a good way to buy into the industry without like getting just into one stock. And that's actually what I told people to buy in my video last week. Even though earnings came, we expected that to be a driver in demand for the stocks. It wasn't. It actually was a sell-off, but it looks like that sell-off got bought more than anything we've seen since the top of the pot market.
Yeah,
So
and
huge demand coming into those stocks right now.
that's what I told Ian when we were discussing the Incast, like what we're talking about, which is that when you see that kind of a bottom where that gets bought, it's clear there's like a big amount of money came in and
Yeah.
swallowed that supply whole. And generally that's money that I'm going to say is what I call strong hands money. They're going to hold it and they're going to hold that supply tight. And now if you want to get supply, you're going to have to bid it higher. We believe that's what it looks like. And so that's a super positive sign.
Right. Yeah. And today, actually, I did a pot trade in our Rebound Profit Trader option service. So that one's already up from this morning. I think it's up like 90% just from this morning. So, yeah. So there's definitely opportunities to trade at this point in the market. Sure. The stocks are so cheap.
Because in all likelihood, the so-called smart money, at least the folks that think they're smart, are probably all short. Because that's the reason why it's seen that decline is there was natural selling, but people that bought into the hype last year. And then there was a lot of short interest is probably shorting it. And now as year end comes, people look to cover, people want to set themselves up to buy for 2020. You have a perfect storm where you've got a lot of demand and very little supply, and that's generally good.
Yeah, and it was like you and me were talking about last week, just the feeling of disappointment and like just hopelessness when these stocks all cratered after earnings. It's like that's the feeling that should actually be like you need to buy it because like this is it. It kind of feels like when Bitcoin was topping at 20,000, just like how I didn't even think it could go up anymore. It was crazy. And also when Bitcoin fell to 3,000, it was just like a huge surprise. And those are the moments where if you buy, you're generally pretty well off.
That's right. Bottoms never feel comfortable,
Yeah.
never feel good, because generally you're alone. And if you go onto any chat room, go onto Twitter, any place else, people are negative, and will tell you you're a fool and you're an idiot. And so buying at the bottom is generally a lonely feeling.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And so that we don't get too far into it, and that was the case last year with Tesla. And look where Tesla
Yeah.
is sitting. Now, big
Yeah,
event
that
coming up.
was
Big event
Yeah,
coming up.
it's up today. They do their pickup truck announcement today, which I'm really excited for because living, on basically a small farm, I do need a pickup truck to bring like feed and straw and hay in. So I will definitely be considering getting one of those in the future. I'm really excited for the reveal. I think it's going to look awesome, and I think it's going to sell really well because pickup trucks are like the biggest market for any automobile in the United States. So the fact that Tesla has one now, when their Model 3s have done so well, basically they can't make them fast enough to fill demand. The pickup trucks are going to be even better than that. And they're building they have 2 gigafactories built. They're building 2 more. They're going to be able to produce these things like really, really fast. And the fact that they're really getting into this electric pickup truck market first, that's going to be huge for them.
Yeah, I mean, and just think about how negative people were. My anti-Tesla friends were all betting on bankruptcy last year, and I
Yeah.
was like, "You guys are crazy! Like that Model 3 is selling like hotcakes. Go talk to your friends." Every millennial I know wants a Tesla Model 3. I was
Yeah.
at breakfast yesterday, and I was sitting next to a table, and everybody was talking about the Smart Summon. They were talking about autopilot. They were talking about what it feels like to drive an EV. And I
Yeah.
can tell you that, that's the future. And Tesla's future is bright. And we're not even talking about their battery business, which is now completely on fire. I don't
Yeah.
mean like, in the way that California is on fire, but, but I
Yeah.
mean, they've got other businesses that are just beginning to really get going.
Yeah, it's crazy. Their battery business has been great for years, and now that energy storage, that market's starting to heat up. They have the biggest battery system in the world in Australia. They're doing really well with that. I think their battery business grew like at least 50% over the past year. And then you've got the cars, which obviously the Model 3 is like basically the Model T of electric cars. I mean,
That's right.
the popularity of that is just huge. Never seen anything like that in electric cars before.
I mean, they've essentially wiped out the sort of the sedan market for
Yeah.
all the big players. I mean, it's going away sooner and later, which is going to be gone. All right,
Yep.
Ian, we've probably like really, really gone way over the limit. So we should probably close this off here.
Yep.
And we've done Tesla, we've done Bitcoin, we've done pot. Anything else that we should talk about? Just maybe a couple minutes on the market, and what we've been seeing.
Yeah. So the market, one area that we can see that's going to bounce, we're not sure when yet, but it's coming, is solar. So solar stocks, like we were talking about with Tesla with their batteries, solar companies are seeing kind of a revolution happen with energy storage right now. That's going to be a big deal. Solar stocks rallied a lot in the beginning of this year. And overall, the main stocks in that sector are still up like 100% on the year. So there's definite buying going on in solar. The past couple months, it's faded. And we believe that bottom is coming very soon. And housing, of course, housing stocks have been flat over the past month. We see that going up as well. There was just a survey put out, I think it was actually a study from Realtor that basically said that there's been a shortage of houses now for every single month in 2019. So these home building companies in their earnings calls and their conferences and everything are saying we can't build houses fast enough to get people the supply that they want or give people the demand that they want for houses. That market is going to blow up. It's a multi-year thing. As we've talked about before, these stocks are going to be on fire for a while. So these are 2 areas where we really see a lot of potential for the stock market going forward.
Totally. And with that, I think it's time to end the Incast, Ian.
Yep. Yeah.
All right. You can. I always do my whoosh goodbye, so you can go first, and that way I can do mine as the final goodbye.
Yeah, sounds good. All right, everybody. Happy Friday, of course, and I hope everybody has a great weekend and a great holiday next week.
All right. This is Paul saying bye.